It's Facebook Live, and I am Jim Callner, and I've been posting on about a dozen groups and contributing, including two of my own. One of them has, we have about close to 10,000 people in my between my OCD coaching videos page and the OCD positive post page. So feel like I'm doing something. I also wrote this book called It's a Matter of Trust, which, by the way, this book, A Matter of Trust, and you can get this book, you can buy it hard copy if you want on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Apple, and it's all over the place, but you can also get it for free. I'm downloading having a PDF file, and you can download the PDF file of the entire book for free. Just go to afocd.org, afocd.org, and you can click on the link and download it right there. So, you bought it on Amazon. Good, Diana. I appreciate it. Somebody's hearing me. Okay, good. So, I just want to tell you that this presentation and any questions that you have, I'm doing is because I want to talk a little bit about hope and about tips for anxiety, because after 35 years of having OCD, I have gained some tips. At first in the hospital, it was really bad. There's Stacy, pretty Stacy, who is the admin of this group, and thank God for this group and the other support groups. You can get help anytime with the support groups. In 35 years ago, we didn't have any of this stuff. So it was, I could cover Puro too, sure. I'll do that, Mo. I'm just reading stuff as I'm talking here. So let me give you a little background here real quick, and then I'll answer some questions here, is that I was put in the hospital. It hit me like a ton of bricks at age 29, which actually is late for OCD at that time. Now kids have it when they're born, and we're seeing much younger and younger and younger. But at that time, it was older, and I hit me like a ton of bricks. I had to be hospitalized, but I was fortunate to get really good help, and I know a lot of people aren't, and it's hard to find a good therapist. Thank God for the net. And these support groups, and actually people are doing it via net. I mean, my therapist now is in England. I'm in California. I live by the ocean with Janine, my wife. And by the way, we built this house. How do you like it? Yeah. See, that's where you can get with OCD. You can get better. We built the house. I have recovered enough to struggle through, and a lot of it was struggle through teaching college for 37 years. I just retired, and but at 35 years ago, I didn't think any of this could happen. I was so incapacitated. I mean, I lost my job. I had to go on unemployment eventually. I had to work off my parents, paid for a lot of this stuff. I was not in good shape at all and couldn't even imagine going back to work. I had lost my life, lost my girlfriend at the time, my relationship, everything, my apartment, and was in a psychiatric ward. And at those days, there wasn't McLean, there wasn't Rogers, and they did the best they could. And what we worked on, just to move ahead quickly, is that what we worked on is a thing called risking. That's what we called it. And it's basically facing your fears. It's like Susan Jeffers' book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. It was the rudiments of ERP, exposure response prevention therapy. Facing your fears and not going back to the compulsion. Or with the obsession is go ahead and think the thought. When the thought came up, go ahead and think it. It's okay, but put it in the right category so it doesn't freak you out. The thing is, with OCD or pure obsession, like Mo was talking about, I have obsessions, I have compulsions, I still do to this day. I have to work with it every day. Is that the how much interpretation and how much freak outness we attach to that thought. We want to have the thought but not get scared by it. That's scared. The point of fear where we start doing something that is compulsive or start ruminating on the thought over and over and over again. So how do you do that? What I do is I try to best say in my own voice, in my head, not an actual voice, but a thought, I say to myself, oh, wait a minute. That's an OCD thought. That doesn't happen. That's OCD going at me again. Fine, go at me, beat me up. I know you're going to go away. All energy goes away. All anxiety calms down on its own. Even if you do nothing. Even if you do nothing, guys. Don't do any of these tricks I'm going to tell you about. Any of these tips I'm going to tell you about. Even if you just sit in a chair and let yourself be batted around, it will go away. It will calm down at least. It'll go from a 10 to a 7 to a 4 eventually. And that's how it works. That's how it works. They don't have a cure for OCD yet. Not yet. They're working on it. My compulsions, Mo was saying, are you compulsion? I think he's saying, are your compulsions mental or physical? They're both. Compulsions for me is when I get a thought of, oh my God, something's going to happen to someone else, or it's going to happen to me, and it's what if. It always starts with what if. I start washing my hands. So washing hands, or I start checking around, or I have German contamination phobias. And if I drop my keys on the floor, I say, oh my God, how many people have walked on that floor, and how many germs, OCD germs, and I go, wait a minute. It's always, for me, it starts with, wait a minute. The sentence starts with, wait a minute, Jim. It's like, calm down. Calm down, Jim, me. That's an OCD thought. I'm watching all these people around me, and I watch a lot of people picking up their keys. They drop them, they pick them up. I go to a shopping center, go to the mall. They drop something, they pick it up. Some people actually, and this does freak me out, in an OCD land, will drop food, pick it up and eat it. Oh, they wipe it off and they pick it up and eat it. I go, really? I mean, Jim goes, really? And then I say, wait a minute, people do this. The OCD thought of contamination, germs, and all that stuff you have to put it in the category of OCD. And OCD, as my friend Richard from another group says, it always lies. It always lies. It just does. It's a bully. What I have to come to, as my wife tells me, because she's in the medical field and she's a holistic healer of medicine, but she knows enough about psychology. She has a degree in psychology, so she's very patient with me. She reminds me all the time that OCD is a 4-year-old bully. It's a 4-year-old bully. We have to get that. Would we listen to a 4-year-old bully? Or whatever age, but it's very, very young, and it's kicking and screaming, and it wants what it wants, and it wants you to believe what it wants. But I don't know how old you guys are. I mean, I think I'm the oldest guy in the group, but I'm 64 years old. And I got OCD. My onset was at 29. Well, at 29, I believed the bully. And at 39, I was believing the bully. But when I started to get into my, about 10 years in, I got more and more therapy. I never stopped therapy. I never stopped doing something to get help. I started to get a different belief system. I say, wait a minute. If a 4-year-old bully came up to me and said, by the way, the land for this house that we built, 14 years ago when we built the house by the ocean, that land is all contaminated and you can't buy that. Now this is a little kid, a 4-year-old in a suit. Okay, think of that. That's the bully, and that's OCD. And say, you can't buy this. Would I believe that? Would I believe that realtor in a four-year-old body saying those words as OCD? Would I believe that and not buy the land for this house? No. No. We don't get engaged with bullies. We don't engage with bullies. I mean, we have some bullies right now in government, but let's not go there. But you don't engage with a bully. You go beyond a bully. You are bigger than a bully. You have more emotional muscle than bullies. We do. We do. We let them kick and scream. So that's how I look at OCD, and I try to put it in its category and do it anyway. Whatever I am doing, whatever I am thinking. I'm reading one of these things. Mo says exactly, a dog that barks does not bite. Yeah. I mean, you get the idea that dog will bite, but he's just barking. I'm not sure if that's what you meant, Mo, but that's the idea. So one tip is, and this takes some practice. I said it's simple, but it's not easy. Simple doesn't mean easy. For me in my recovery, and I went through 12 steps too, not Alcoholics Anonymous, Codependence Anonymous, because that's all about control. And what is OCD about? It's about trying to control people, places, things, your thoughts. It's about control, your feelings. So Codependence Anonymous is a good place to go if you're into 12 steps. Not everybody is into that. And it's not religious. It's not a religious thing. It's more of a spiritual thing, which is not religion for that. It's not. They also have Obsessive Compulsive Anonymous. But I lost my train of thought then. So anyway, what we used to call this when I first started was risking. We would risk to do any pushing through the fear. Any pushing through any fear, moving through it, doing it anyway, challenging it. That's why I call it the I Can Do It challenge. You challenge it anyway, and you feel the fear. You feel anxiety. And I can tell you from my experience, I'm talking 35 years now. It's probably longer because I was probably unaware of what was coming when I was younger. This is hereditary and it is genetic, and there is a genetic component to it. Doesn't mean you're going to get it, but it's that I had this earlier, and I would push through the fear anyway in my recovery. Before I didn't. I believed it. I'd be frozen. Now I don't. The best I can. The best I can. I push through it. And I put it in its category. That's a 4-year-old bully talking to me. If you name it, you'll tame it. Name it to tame it. Name it as OCD. That's an OCD thought. My wife's going to leave me. I'm going to be living under the bridge. I'm going to lose everything. I'm going to lose this place. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my money. I'm going to lose everything. Lose you guys. I will be alone. Wait a minute. That's an OCD thought. That's not a real thought. I mean, it's any of the OCD thoughts, why it scares us so much is because they're possible, but they're so bizarre that the possibilities are, the statistics on the possibilities are so out there that I don't think, Steven Spielberg or George Lucas could come up with this stuff. I don't think they could write this stuff. Really. I don't. I think our imagination, our right side of our brain, is so strong and has developed so much, that's the creative side, that when we get scared or we get a thought, it goes to the center of our brain, goes to the front of our brain first, then goes to the center of our brain where the caudate nucleus is, that's where they're looking at that has been damaged or something is going on there for OCD. Then it goes right back to the back of our brain where the amygdala is, and that's the fight or flight system that shoots off fear or fight, and we usually go for fear. It's an automatic response with us. So we get bang, that lights up, and then it starts coming around in a circle. Fear, thought, fear, back in the middle of the brain, goes right through, back to the fear, and that gains momentum, and it keeps going around and round and round, and we get then the physical reaction of anxiety. Someone that says, yes, I can, Diana, can you prioritize your concerns? Yes. Some people will say that it's hard for me to read and then not lose my train of thought. Anyway, to interrupt that chain of thought, to interrupt that chain of, that going around and round and round, you have to throw a monkey wrench in there somehow. And the monkey wrench is taking a risk. You have to take the risk. You have to do it anyway. You don't have to, but if you want to get into some form of recovery, you prefer to. You kind of push yourself to. As small as it can be, I say on the OCD Positive Post page, because I want to hear only about people's accomplishments. And I say even the smallest things. So if you can't unlock a door and you're afraid to go out the door and you're locking it, or turn off a light switch, and you're clicking it down, clicking it up, clicking it down. I mean, I've broken light switches. It's not off, it's not off, it's not off. And I'm clicking up and down. If you do it then, if you do it, like 50 times, if you do 49 times, I want to hear about it. That is pushing through it. You did it. Now, I'm not saying go to 48 the next day. Do it 48 times. I'm saying do it 49 times for about 3 days. Then try 48. Then you'll start the same momentum that the fear has. You'll start the momentum of recovery because you did one thing. One thing. And then what's strange about OCD recovery is that once you do one thing, oddly, I don't know how this works, but oddly, it applies to other things. So if you drop your keys on the ground and you say, okay, if I pick those up, I'm going to get germs on my hand. Some people will say that. And then I'm going to shake my partner's hand. They're going to die, and their whole family is going to die, and it's all going to be my fault. Wait a minute. Pick up the keys, shake his hand. Guess what? Nothing happens because OCD always lies. It always lies. If you put it into terms of OCD, in those thoughts are so bizarre. They are, and we know they are. That's why we're not so-called, and I don't like this word, but we're not crazy because we know they're bizarre. I mean, don't we? We know they're bizarre. And we're afraid that we're thinking bizarre thoughts. But that's what OCD does. We have a very strong right brain. We have a Spielberg-Lucas brain. And that Spielberg-Lucas brain says, man, if you think this thought, everyone in your family is going to get sick just by thinking a thought. Doesn't work like that in life. I mean, I think a lot of people would like it to work that way, but especially a lot of politicians, but it doesn't work that way. You can't change how someone thinks, acts, or behaves by any way. You can't do it. They have to want to, they have to believe it, they have to do it. You can't change how a person thinks, feels, or what they do. You can't. You can't force someone into doing something. I mean, maybe with children you can give them boundaries and limits and stuff like that, but you can't force someone to do something. No. So you don't have that kind of power. So you take the risk of saying, wait a minute, I don't have the power to do all that stuff. Nobody does. Nobody does. That's not how it works. We have the power to change ourselves, but not the power to change other people unless the other person wants to change, and then maybe you can influence them. And, try being a teacher and teaching 20,000 people over 35 years. That's where we kind of figured it out to be. It's probably about 20,000 students that I had, not including audiences like this, big audiences. So, you know, I couldn't change them. I could influence them. I could encourage them. I could try to inspire them. But if they didn't want to do the work, I mean, I taught in the arts. I taught filmmaking, and I taught writing, and I taught television production, and, you know, theater. I directed a play. I was teaching the arts. And if a student didn't want to do something, didn't want to do the homework, I can't, what am I going to do? I can't force them to do the homework. OCD can't force you to do something. It feels like it is because you're doing the compulsions over and over again. Believe me, when I was in the hospital, I was washing my hands for 9 hours a day. 9 hours a day. That felt like it was totally in control until I got that, hold on, I can throw a monkey wrench in here and I can take the risk to stop, get anxiety. I will get anxiety. That differentiates us from people that say, oh, I'm so OCD. Boy, that drives me nuts, but it doesn't drive me that nuts to get into it. But no, OCD comes with anxiety. That's the basic difference. It comes with debilitating anxiety. So you get a thought, hits the amygdala, anxiety happens. Now what? You're stuck with anxiety. We're afraid of the anxiety. Overall, generally, people are afraid of the anxiety. So we attack the anxiety by, it's a doing thing. Even with thoughts, you put it in its category. That's OCD. And you keep going anyway. Let me just ask some question here. Yeah, Stacy is saying that my daughter tells me that she feels paralyzed and trapped by her thoughts. Yeah, you do. But you have to put them in a different, Stacy, you have to tell your daughter to put them in a different, it's about believing that, first of all, they're always lying to her. They're younger than her. They're bullying her. We don't talk to bullies. We don't engage with bullies. We kind of, a bully comes up to me, and I've been bullied. I was been bullied as an adult. I was bullied as a teacher, a tenured teacher. I have degrees, I have degrees. Big deal. But I was a teacher. And I've been bullied by people that were lower on the staff, like tech people and stuff, about OCD. Well, they didn't know what they were talking about. And, they were bullies. And I didn't engage with them. I didn't fight back. No. I tried to get them fired. I put in notice for them to be fired. I talked to people higher up than me on the chain. And I said, this guy is there was one guy at my college that was a tech guy, and he worked for us. He's a nice guy, but he was like, he didn't get it at all. He thought it was funny. It's not funny. He didn't get mental illness, like most people don't get it, and he didn't get OCD. He certainly didn't get OCD. And, we look like this. We look fine, although none of us are bald like me, but we look okay, and so it's like this hidden disorder and illness, and they don't get it, so they think it's funny to do stuff, and it's like, it's not funny, and it's bullying, and you try to say, that really hurts me, and I get anxious when you do that, and you got to stop, and they don't stop, so they're bullying. And so what do? I say, well, get away from me. I get away from them, and then I go report them to the chancellor of the college and to the president, and get them at least reprimanded or fired. I'm not going to engage with a bully, and neither is your kid, Stacy. Your kid is going to take the risk to not engage with them and put it in its place. You got to get tough, no matter what age you are. You got to get a little tough and take the risk to say, that's OCD. Whenever you name it as OCD, you take the power out of it. Name it to tame it. Name it to tame it. Every time you challenge OCD, and I know I'm pointing my finger at you a lot, every time you challenge it, you weaken it. Every time you challenge it, you weaken it, and you get more power. It's absolutely true. Let me read some more of your stuff. Instead of reassuring my son like I used to, now my response is just, that's your OCD. Yeah, that's OCD, not you. That's OCD. It's not you. It isn't. You guys are so creative. You guys are so intelligent. I have never met anybody, and I've done a lot of talks, guys. I mean, I made movies on this. I've written a book on this. This book, which I'll mention again shamelessly. It's a Matter of Trust, which you can download for free at afocd.org, or you can see a link that I put up there on the little advertisement. I mean, I have been through a lot of stuff, and let me make sure I get that. And the best thing you can say to OCD is that I am bigger than you, because you are. I have never met anybody with OCD who isn't articulate, intelligent, creative, highly creative, and smart. It's not we're better than other people. It's just that this side of our brain is highly developed. This side is highly developed too. This side's a little bit weaker because it's the intellect, figure-out-ish side, the analytical side. But this side is so strong that we are creative, smart, intelligent, articulate people. I've never met one that isn't. Ever, including all of you guys. Ever. You ask smart questions. I see your posts. You're posting smart things. And I say, yep, that's person with OCD. And again, we're not better than anybody else. It's just that that seems to be the profile of us. So you have to say to yourself, that's OCD, not me. Let me read some more of your things. Oh, thank you, Dana, about the movies. I appreciate that. Name it to tame it, absolutely. Another one that I say to myself all the time is, do the action, do the name it to tame it, and the brain will actually follow. Whatever you say or do, the brain, in a positive way, the brain will follow it. The brain will also follow fear. So you want to throw a monkey wrench in that, so the brain will follow what you want to follow. The unconscious, what I have learned after a lot of years, is the unconscious isn't that smart. It's kind of like a holding tank. And whatever you tell it, it will kind of hold it in there and say, well, I believe that chocolate ice cream is bad for you. Most people don't say that. I don't say that like nightly. But, chocolate ice cream is horrible for you. It will do harm to you. And the unconscious will say, okay, chocolate ice cream will do harm to you. I'll believe that. But if you say chocolate ice cream is pretty good, Ben & Jerry's, especially Ben & Jerry's, is okay. You don't want to eat too much of it. You don't want to get too sugared up. But it's not going to, it's okay for you. It's good. Chocolate is good. Most people like chocolate. The unconscious will say, I like chocolate. It will go with whatever you feed it. That's the idea. So if you feed it good stuff, I'm not saying that you have to be happy all the time or be positive all the time. It's really hard because OCD comes with depression. It comes with a thing called dysthymia, which is a free-floating depression, kind of like you're up, you're down, but you're not really stuck in bed all day. You're not really so far into hell that you're in depression, but you're kind of free-floating. It's kind of always there. It's like, oh, why do I have OCD? It kind of comes with that. But if you throw a monkey wrench into it, you don't have to always be like that. You don't have to be completely positive, but you have to be, what will take OCD down immediately, almost immediately. I mean, it's not like you're cured, We haven't found an absolute cure yet, but we found a high functioning rate. We can get that. It's more the higher you function, that's how you tell the better you are, the more you can do. So, but we'll take it down really fast. And I know this might sound woo-woo to you guys, but I write about it all the time and post it in about a dozen groups, is gratitude. Grateful. I appreciate it. I can say this now, and this might throw some of you off, but I can even appreciate that I have OCD. I got it. I want it gone. Absolutely. I want it gone tonight. I want it gone now. But I have it. I've accepted it. And what it has thrown me into is an appreciation for other people into the stratosphere that have all kinds of different mental illness and emotional illness. And my empathy has gone, 1,000-fold. I see somebody on Facebook or on social media that needs my help, and I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, but I know a lot because I've just been through a lot. If I can help them from my experience in any way, I am there. That's what it's done for me, and that's appreciation, that's gratitude. Also, we live by the ocean, which we're lucky to do that. I can't believe we're doing that on a teacher's salary, but we can. And I look outside and I say, are you kidding me? That's why you see my photographs. This is gorgeous. See, and that takes the brain immediately away from all this fear amygdala stuff and takes you into the present. And if you're in the present, which is the only time there is anyway, you are in mindfulness. You're right here. Gratitude will immediately take down OCD, will lessen it, appreciation, because it's bringing you into mindfulness. And as soon as you're in the present, you're in the perfect present. That's why they call it a present, like a gift. It's the perfect present. You are here. My wife always says to me, because she's in, like I said, she's in holistic medicine. She gives me little snips right now. She's actually with a patient downstairs. We have an office here at the house. She will say, Jim, you got to get here. She'll say it nicely. It's not a demand. She says, get here, because she can see me going off into fear. She says, get here. And I say, oh yeah, you're right. I got to get here. And I get present. I get right here. Do what's in front of me. Look at what's in front of me. What's in front of me right now? You guys are. Well, a phone is. But I'm doing this right now. As soon as you get present, the mind, the brain, gets very focused. And I don't know what happens in the mind. Maybe it's neuroplasticity, whatever, that the neural pathways line up in a better way, in a more healthy way. It's probably that. Is that and OCD just can't handle that. Because OCD is always, in my experience, always about the future. Always. What if? What if? If something happens, how am I going to handle it? How am I going to handle it? Okay? It just keeps dragging you into the future, which we have no control over whatsoever. We have control over the present. Depression is more about the past. I regret. This is my experience. Oh, I feel sorry I didn't do that. Now, they can cross over for sure. They can cross over for sure. But OCD is mainly, so what do you want to do? You want to be a futurizer or a pasteurizer? A futurizer or a pasteurizer? I have it in the book. I made up the term. Futurizer or pasteurizer. And I don't want to be either of those things. I want to be in the now. I want to be present right now. Let me answer some questions here. Thank you, Stacy, for the photographs. Yeah, I got back to photography after a lot of years of making movies. Now I'm back to photography. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. My daughter can't have a relationship. All she worries about is, will it last? Future. Will it last? Can't live in the moment. can't, the word can't, needs to control. Me too. That control. We are control. If you want to put this in the word addiction, you got to be careful with the word addiction. But if we are kind of control addicts, we're trying to control life, people, places, things around us because we feel safe. We want that safety. We want that certainty. Well, we can't get that safety and certainty with almost anything in life. We can come close. Is it safe enough is good for me. With that question, Dana, I would say that I would try to take out the word for your daughter, encourage her to try this. What I've done myself is take out the word can't, have to, got to, any of those words. Can't, have to, because that makes it like definitive. That makes it got to have, can't do it. It makes it more absolute. Can't have, can't live in the moment. Well, the brain says, remember the subconscious, the brain says, oh, you can't, okay, you can't. You can't ever do it. Ever. Really? Can't ever do it? I said to myself when I was younger, probably your guys' age, I feel so old and bald, is that I said to myself, I don't think I can ever have a house and have a relationship and be married and live by the ocean which we love. Got married at age 50, first marriage, first and last marriage. Built a house because my wife is incredible and she found the land and we built a house. So the can't became can. The can't became possible. I like to, my phrase is, I always like to be wrong. I like happy surprises. All that stuff, all that fear, I like that happy surprise where it just says, I'm wrong, I can live by the ocean, I can be married, I can have a relationship. I can do all that stuff, even with OCD. I can get better. I can rather than I can't. That affirmation. I'd encourage that. There's a whole bunch of them in the book. It says like I'm selling the book, but you can get it for free. But I have all kinds of affirmations are powerful because they send signals to the subconscious. Words are powerful, very powerful to change your brain. You don't have to even believe them. You just say the words and the subconscious will believe them because the subconscious isn't that bright. So if you say, I can have a relationship, even with OCD, there are people out there, men, women, there are guys out there, there are women out there that they're very kind. They'll get it, and everybody's got something. Everybody's got something, guys. We're just open about it. At least we're open in this group, and the more open you are, the more honest you are, the better you're going to get. I got to shut down pretty soon. Let me ask you a couple more questions. Let's see. Okay, I'm just reading here. Dana says that her daughter, I guess, is angry and she won't talk to me about OCD. She's probably not ready yet. And she watched a movie and that was a start. Yeah, she watched her brother go through McLean. Okay, well, she's seeing other people like me, and I have other movies on YouTube called The Risk, In the Shoes of Christopher, where she'll see that, and you tell her, this guy. Show her this video. I mean, you know me, Dana, now. I mean, we're somehow connected through this virtual reality thing. But it is reality because you're right here and I'm right here. And you say, well, I know the guy that made that. And watch this, he got better. See, the thing is, guys, you got to believe this. I asked my psychiatrist, who was from Johns Hopkins. He was with me for 27 years. This guy is the most talented psychiatrist I ever had, and most spiritual too. Not religious, but he knew he had this stuff like I'm talking about. I'm actually talking stuff that he taught me. And the thing is, he taught me the most is that I asked him one time, I said, so what is this all about? And I got my teacher hat on. I said, what is the core issue here? What's the bottom line of this OCD stuff? And he said, it's about what you believe. Isn't that interesting? He didn't go into any of the biology of the, of pandas and the caudate nucleus and all that stuff. And no, he said it's about belief systems, what you believe. Change your belief, change your brain for the better. And by the word, about that word better, you get better. Once you say, I can do it, and you challenge OCD in any way, and you start to be just a little bit open to talking about it and expressing it, and then saying and talking to yourself. I talk to myself all the time in my head. I'm saying, Jim, let's name it to tame it. Let's put it in its place. Let's take the risk to challenge it. If I'm in the shower, I'm in the bathroom, and I just can't get out. I'm on my second roll of toilet paper, and I'm saying, wait a minute. For me, for some reason, it always starts with wait a minute. I go, wait a minute. This is OCD. I'm going to challenge it right now. I'm going to stop. I know I'm going to get anxious, but that anxiety is going to float away. All anxiety goes someplace else. You just got to feel it, feel it, feel it. That's another thing my psychiatrist said a long time ago. And to this day, he's in his 80s now. He's retired, but I just talked to him the other day, and not that long ago, and he said the same thing to me. He said, feel the feelings, Jim. Feel the feelings. Feel the feelings until you feel them away. You can do all kinds of tricks, absolutely. And I have a whole bunch of OCD coaching videos with all kinds of systems and tricks and tips, but feel the feelings, and even if you do nothing, let it bat you around. They'll go away. So can't, have to, shouldn't, got to, those type of words, got to take them out of your vocabulary with OCD. Those aren't the words we want now to get better. Possible, could, not need to, but can, going to take the risk. And what's the risk? The risk is that you're going to get anxiety. You've been there before. You know how it goes. Okay, it's going to go away. It will go away. It will lessen. And every time you do it, it will lessen even more. Every time you do it, it's going to lessen more because your brain's going to say, subconscious will say, oh, I can do this. I can do this. Okay, one more question, or a couple more. Thank you, Dana, for the In the Shoes of Christopher. That was a hard movie to make. It was a really hard movie to make because we didn't have a lot of money. I love Louise Hayes, you mentioned in her book. Yep. You have to, that's belief. Louise and Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra we're seeing pretty soon. Wayne Dyer was really my mentor. Louise Hay is a tremendous mentor of mine. Robert Holden, absolutely. Because they're all about changing the way you look at life. That's real spirituality, is how you look at life differently, more kindly, more kind to yourself, a little more easy on yourself, a little more soothing to yourself, a little more gratitude in your life, a little more appreciation. You kind of catch yourself before you say to yourself, do I want to be happy, or do I want to be in this fight? Is it worth it? Fighting for something that hard, with somebody else, like a political fight, and they're not going to change their mind. You just say, well, would I rather be happy or would I rather be right? I don't need to be right. I don't need to be right. I need to be happy, especially with us that have OCD and have anxiety. Happiness at any level is what I'm going after. Okay, let me just make sure I get through main people here. Yeah. Oh, Mo, I never answered your questions. And I forgot what it was about, prioritizing my concerns. So that's Dana. My concern, I don't prioritize my concerns. That's from Dana. You can't prioritize your concerns. You can't prioritize your concerns. No, because, well, if I'm reading this right, again, that word can't, you eventually can prioritize because you're getting so bombarded, the autonomic nervous system, which is fight or flight system, you're getting tired because you're getting so many thoughts coming in. One thought after another, after another, after another. That's why you have to distract yourself to come back home. I distract myself with movies. I distract myself with television. I distract myself with Facebook. I distract myself immediately if I'm really getting like one thought after another, after another, after another, and I can't get all these negative thoughts out of my head. I immediately go to try to help somebody else. And that's not because I'm such a good guy. It's because I know that that's a means of a way out. And also it helps somebody else that I know has the same stuff. I mean, all of this is the same stuff, guys. It really is. It's all OCD. It's all under the banner of OCD. It's all under the banner of fear. So to soothe someone else is actually to soothe yourself. When you soothe someone else, even if you just say, I understand, they comment, with these long comments, and that they're having this horrible day, and this person is, and they've lost this, and they can't this, and they have to this, and, if you write under that, I hear you and I understand, and I'm with you. Tell me more. And they'll go through a whole long list, and then you just write a short answer. One last thing I'll tell you is that I had a woman, I was on the campus assistance program. Campus assistance program in a college, and other colleges will probably have them too, is where teachers, us teacher types, help students that have some type of addiction, emotional illness, mental illness. Mine, of course, was OCD and anxiety, but the teachers have it also. So we've been there. So they come to us because we've been there, and then we can help soothe them down, and they can connect with us, and then we can probably lead them to a professional therapist. That was the whole idea of it. And I was on it for 35 years. 37 years I was on this committee, and a woman came to me and said, I've heard about you, I like you, can I talk to you? I said, sure, let's meet in the campus center. We went to the campus center, and I decided to do a technique that I learned from either John Bradshaw or Wayne Dyer, is to do active listening. Active listening, or what my wife calls, because she's in the listening business too, is deep listening. Deep listening. And I just listened to her. And once in a while I would say, yeah, I've been there. About that much. Or yes, I understand. Or I'd nod my head, yeah, I get you. That's all I'd say. And she talked for 4 hours about her problem, about her husband, about her, her abuse, about all her stuff. And she just kept talking. And I just kept going, yeah, I get it. I wasn't married at the time, but I said, yeah, I can't imagine. I'd say stuff like that. At the end of the session, at the end of 4 hours, it was get late. And I was saying, well, we better wrap this up. And she thanked me like I had cured her of her problem. I didn't do anything. I just listened to her. I soothed her down by another human being next to her and listening to what she was saying, and not judging her, not shaming her, but just being there, just a present, active listening, deep listening, with no judgment. And she left, she hugged me, thank you so much, oh my God, you did so much for me. I didn't do anything. I just listened to her. So if you want to get out of OCD, or at least calm it a little bit, go from a 10 to like an 8 or a 7, help someone. Listen to them. Listen to another person. It will calm them, It will calm you because we are connected. We are connected. And that's not some woo-woo thing. There's lots of science on this. Everything's connected. We are connected. And you'll feel that. Listen, thank you so much. Let's get better. We can do it one day at a time. We'll do this again, okay? Take care, guys. See you later. Keep the faith. You can do it. You can.